Yo and hello. Did we restart that? No.
Oh,
Yo and
yeah.
hello, everybody. This is Hobby Think Tank on Bench Clear Media. Like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. I'm Mike. That's John. Hey, John.
Hey, Mike, how are you?
I heard you had a hot pepper next to you.
Yeah, stuffed pepper.
It's a stuffed pepper.
Yeah, it's good. It's good.
You're going to have some dinner here in a little bit. But right now, apparently, it's the same temperature as the surface of the sun. And
It's
so
pretty freaking hot. Yeah, and already burnt the roof of my mouth in New York last night on pizza, so I can't pull a back to back or I'm done.
well, I have a list of think tank topics that I know our audience has been clamoring to hear. So I'm going to let you decide what we talk about tonight.
Whatever Bob Calderon wants us to talk about.
Our favorite listener, watcher, yes,
Commenter.
commenter, yes.
Oh, talk about this guy.
Is that Steve Garvey?
Look at this. I'm gonna do this on air. There
Oh,
we go.
why'd you do that?
Because I hate Steve Garvey with a passion.
He's going to be
He's
the next senator from California here.
California could not do any better than having Steve Garvey as their senator. They're made for each other. It'll be awesome. It's great.
Well, you know, to talk politics is like the death of a card YouTube channel, right? But I want to either.
Who died? Hey, wait, who died talking politics on Card Channel YouTubing? Name me one example.
No, your channel would die, not
Oh,
you.
mine's dead. My channel's dead, but we don't want to kill Bench Clear's channel. I get it.
Right, right.
Yes.
But we could deal with the abortion issue. We could talk about that. We could talk about gun control, Israel, Hamas. Where we stand on that. How about Ukraine, Russia? We've got inflation. We can talk domestic stuff, the border. Which of those sounds good to you? Because you're in the Northeast. I'm in the deep South. So
I'm everywhere. I'm everywhere, Fokker. You can't.
True.
Yeah, you can't put a label on me. In fact,
Yeah.
I don't like labels. I'm a non-labeler.
You're good for the no labels party. That'll be good.
Yeah,
You run for president.
If I had a party, it would be the Common Sense Party, and obviously, common. We always say common ain't so common, but like, let's just do things. What Occam's razor. Let's just do the thing that makes the most sense. But we don't. We just do whatever the heck we want. All of us.
Most of us feel that way about life and the hobby. Common sense needs to prevail in most scenarios, and common ground and compromise and all these things. But since it is a political year, we're in an election year, I do want to ask you, does the hobby need, here's what I'd like to talk about, and you can tell me if this is a bad topic. Does the hobby need some type of formal hierarchy that is monitoring it, regulating it, keeping everything in line? Do we need a hobby president?
No, we don't need a hobby president at all. We don't. We need people to just, I don't know. There's just so many people that get their feelings hurt in this hobby, right? There's so many people that think the hobby is the only thing, right? I always say that whenever a hobby issue pops up, it's always the end of the world and how it affects them. And the government's going to shut down this or that because it's a monopoly. Government doesn't care about baseball cards, and nobody's life is affected by baseball cards. If you get ripped off by buying a box from a breaker, that's your fault. You're the one who sent them the money, right? So everybody in the hobby is getting their feelings hurt, but taking no responsibility. We have to take responsibility in life and in the hobby for our own actions, and understanding that those actions affect other people. I could drive my car without the lights on all night long, but that will affect somebody eventually when somebody pulls out in front of me and I hit them. So it's kind of the same thing. You're working in space, people. I used to tell my kids to have spatial awareness. Don't look backwards while you're walking forward. Seems to be what's going on. What was the question again?
I'm wondering where you're going with it. You just start spiraling, and I just need to you
Listen,
truck. I just need to
go.
wind you up and let you go.
That'll be my recommendation for the hobby. Don't look backwards while you're walking forward. Okay, just be aware of where you are in space, and don't blame other people if you're bump into somebody while you're looking the other way. And that's what's happening. That seems to be what's happening, right? Let's the baseball uniforms. How are the ratty baseball uniforms really affecting your life? Right? See
And
through.
people are having a cow over it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I understand. We have our opinions and all that stuff, but like, there is a lot of sky is falling, and it continues to happen. And as we go post pandemic, we go from the pandemic to the end of the pandemic to post pandemic. It's like we keep looking for these things that affect our lives that don't really affect our lives. Walmart's out of product. Who cares? Go buy it online. It's cheaper. You'll get it. Like, there's a lot of picking of nits going on. You can tell I just got out of 8 hours of video conferences and I'm ready to unload on somebody. Sorry, it's you, Mike.
It's not me. It's they're going to get to hear this in all of its unedited glory.
Every now and then when I take a breath, remind me of what the question is, please.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. So no to hobby president. Does the hobby need some type of regulatory body, judicial type, where you can air your grievances, go to a hobby court, for example, and say, I'm pissed about this. I want it fixed.
Do the people that the car collectors, people that build hot rods and all that stuff, they have associations, but do they have any kind of overreach or authority over each other? I wonder. I know there's groups, right? There's collectors groups of or car collector groups. There's probably Coca-Cola collector groups, but I don't think there's anybody monitoring what happens in the Hummel figurines. Is there a Grand Poobah of the Hummel figurine Federation, or is it just everybody's kind of doing their thing, right? Well, comic books. Let me ask you about comic books, Michael Moynihan. Sure. What happens over in comic books?
Nothing.
Everybody just behaves, maybe?
It's different. It's a different kind of, people are still pissy about grades that they get. They think the comic should be graded. But you can press a comic. You can alter a comic. And it's okay,
Yeah. Yeah, that's an interesting dynamic, right? Like, you get pissy about grades that on product you can manipulate to get better grades. It's like, yeah.
You did
it's like taking your wife to get new boobs and lip filler, and then you're ticked off that everybody at the biker bar isn't hitting on your wife, even though
what did I pay all this good money for?
Yeah. You got her nails did, you got her lips did, and you got her boobs did, but no reaction at Tony's Bar and Grill.
So I, for one, think that the hobby needs zero oversight, and I think it's ridiculous to even propose such an idea because what's the point? Where does it go from there? I've got my little, if my dogs start barking, I've got my little zapper to piss them off here. But
this is what this hand is doing right now. Is petting my dog. Just so
I was down here petting Norman too, because he was right here.
He's calming me down. Yeah.
Yeah. It's, to me,
here's the thing, real quick. The person that everybody would agree with should be the person that is the hobby president says that there should not be a hobby president.
I assume you're talking about Dr. James Beckett.
Yes. I don't mean to speak for him, but I'm sure he would agree with me 110%.
I'm sure he would too. To me, the hobby needs to be what we call a self-regulatory organization, meaning it needs to police itself. And I think by and large, the hobby does a pretty good job of policing itself. When bad actors are caught, they are put out there for all to see on social media, sports card radio, blowout forums, you name it. You're going to get called out and embarrassed if you do something shady. sometimes unfairly, and sometimes a little bit jumping the gun, because the problem we have with that is that everybody wants to be the first
Yeah.
to kind of break
Break
the
the news.
story,
Yeah, yeah.
and it turns into, well, that's not really what happened, or
Right.
that's not really the full story, or that's one side of the story. And so, unfortunately, there's no this is true of mainstream media too. There's no,
Yeah.
investigative journalism integrity that happens. And so there's no checking of sources and all this stuff. I would say some try to get it right and try to make sure they have all the facts before they would say something, but then they're going to get
Right.
scooped by someone else. And, it turns into, uh,
It's
just a mess.
TMZ. It's
Yeah.
TMZ, right? I mean, that's the way this era of society is. I don't want to say generation because it's cross generational, but it's the TMZ-ification. Like, yes, I want to be the first one to break the news, and it's so easy to on Twitter or on YouTube or whatever, whatever methods. Obviously, it's not as prevalent, or it's not prevalent at all in the more respectable blogs and the more respectable channels, but it's so easy to hop on and blast something and have everybody else run with it. People want to see other people fail, out of for whatever reasons. I mean, we probably know those reasons, but people want to see other people fail, and they want to be the first to have their foot on the neck of somebody.
Well, let's take a recent huge hobby story, which was SGC getting bought by collectors, right? I tell you, when that news broke, and I can't remember who exactly, was it Darren Ravel or somebody broke that or put it out there for the first time. I mean to tell you, it wasn't within half an hour, my phone absolutely went bonkers between text messages, Instagram direct messages, comments on YouTube video. It was like everybody wanted to be the one to tell me, to make sure that I knew. And
Okay.
there's a human condition with that where, I know something someone else doesn't know. I want to be the first to tell them, as if that will make me important. Right.
So you just
And
told me all your friends are completely, um, I don't know, they're shallow. You just ratted out all your friends who called you and texted you, and
no,
you're
they
just
were
thanks
just
for
like, "Hey, have
calling
you
them.
seen this? Have you seen did you see this? Did you hear about this?" And shoot, we did it in our hobby think tank chat, you know.
Right.
It went out there. I actually think it might have been me that put it in there, quite frankly. And there
How'd
is
you
an
sleep
innate,
that night? How did you sleep?
like a baby. It
Yeah.
didn't affect me one bit. I didn't care. It and that's I think there's a look, as important as the hobby is to me, as the hobby is to you, for what it is, both of us, and most people, this is going to be true of dang near everybody watching this show. Dude, I have way higher priorities than the hobby in my life. This
Right.
is down there, multiple rungs beyond work and family and church for me, and just different things that, dude, this and I spend a lot of time doing this hobby, but believe me, it's still a small sliver of what encompasses my identity and who I am. And I feel like there are a small segment of people that the hobby is more than it probably is healthy to be in their life. And they things get to them. And then they're the loudest voices. They're the ones clanging the dinner bell. It's feeding time on whoever did something bad, right? Time to
Yeah.
circle the wagons, let the wolves loose.
I don't
And
mind I don't mind people within the hobby talking about hobby happenings being a big deal, but really it isn't in the scheme and the scope of life outside. It's not a big deal, and I know within our own lives, but I'm talking about, all the nonsense about monopolies and this and that. I got news for you. The SGC PSA thing isn't even a top 5 event in hobby history. Okay? Not it isn't a top 5. I could name you 5 other ones. If you
Go ahead.
subscribe to my Patreon, I'll tell you what those files are. You don't get them for free. No, but seriously, nobody's going to care about SGC, PSA 5 years from now, whether SGC is still on the feeder road, as you folks say in Texas, or they're completely eliminated from the picture. They're not gonna. It's not going to matter. It's not going to have an indelible impact on the hobby. Full stop.
Well, I think there's also this desire for hobbyists for the hobby to become bigger than it is from a mainstream recognition standpoint. There's like this desire for, and I think during COVID, the hobby did come out of the dark recesses of, it became more mainstream. Cards were selling for lots of money.
It was geeky, right? It was kind of
Geeky.
geeky, right? Which is, most of us are at peace with that because, but
Yeah,
we did. I did it alone. I've been on the record. I did it alone most of my life, other than my breaks. I collected alone. I didn't have hobby buddies.
Most of us did, and we realized, oh my gosh, there's other geeks, but yet we're still such a tiny.
I know.
I could bring 100 people to my house. One of them might know even about sports, much less sports cards, right? Or that's probably a higher percentage that would know about sports. But it is. I could grab 100 people off the street and show them a bunch of cards, and they'd be like, "Okay, that's cool."
Yeah, we know. We it's been said many times, right? The amount of people that follow sports is huge. The amount of people that collect cards is very small. The amount of people that collect cards that follow any kind of content is even a fraction of that. So like we're like a sub, so far down a subcategory of actual sports people. More people gamble than collect cards, I would imagine, on sports, right? So we are such a subspecies and so far down on the org chart in sports. And you're just talking about people that like sports, right? Let alone, I would venture to say maybe a third, if not a third, 40, 50% of the people in this country aren't passionate about sports, maybe. And we're a subset of that remaining 50, 60, 66% or whatever.
We're not just a subset. We're a subset of a subset of a
exactly.
subset. Of a subset.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I guess the conclusion that I'm getting as we discuss through all these little issues is we're not that important.
We're not that important. The DOG is not coming to rescue SGC, folks. Okay. So please stop writing your congresspersons. They're not coming to help. SGC will be swallowed up and become nothing in a few years. You just have to deal with it. Okay.
So that's what that congressional subpoena was about. I have to go in front of the Senate Service Committee on card trading.
Exactly. Yeah. So I mean, we do. It's fun because in the content world or or social media world of content or the hobby, it's like I said, like we said, it's a smaller group, but it's a very passionate and vocal group. But you need to remember the context here. Not everybody that has a microphone is a lawyer or something. I had a lawyer or something like that. Doesn't have an MBA, all that fun stuff. There's a lot of pontification, but there aren't even that many therapists left in our hobby. So, you just have to take it with a grain of salt. Nobody's coming to rescue your beloved grading company or Panini, maybe Panini, I don't know, but nobody's coming to change. The government is not going to intercede on your behalf to make the hobby the way you want it, which is, kind of what we started talking about here. It certainly shouldn't be. We're certainly not going to be able to police ourselves. Now, I do have a problem with the government and the hobby, and that's the incessant and repeated taxes on cards that have had taxes paid on them for decades and decades and decades. The person who paid 6% tax in 1963 for a pack of 63-cent cards or pack of 1963 cards, sales tax was paid on that, perhaps, maybe not. But, I think that, we get killed on taxes on on cards that have been sold over and over again. So that was another one of my rants I needed to get out.
That's actually something I haven't really spent a lot of time thinking about, but
how many times can you tax the same item?
Yeah, because if you sell it on eBay, it could change hand 10 times and it's going to get taxed every single time.
6% in the state of Pennsylvania, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and more elsewhere, and less or
8.75 in Texas.
Yeah, that's crazy, right? Like, it's crazy. When you changed titles of a car, you have to, pay taxes within that state. I get that, but like we're talking about freaking cards here, man. Whether they're worth 10 cents or whether they're worth $10 million, it's like enough is enough. Pay a tax and that's it.
Right. To carry on we're not that important, and the people that think an issue is kind of life or death if they take it to that extreme, colloquially speaking, the idea would be you have really two choices with anything you get pissed off about in the hobby. There's no one to run to, there's no one to bitch at other than, the screen or your microphone or on your keyboard. But the reality is you have two choices at the end of the day. When you're done, being pissy, you can either get over it or get out.
Right.
You get to choose. You get the choice. Actually, you do have the freedom to choose. Okay, I'm fed up. SGC's, let's just say down the road, SGC ends up getting basically just thank you for helping. Thank you. You're done. We're now all PSA. If that happens and people just rant and rave and piss and moan about it, all right, then get out of the hobby or shut up, because you can't do anything about it. All the I don't see people lined up outside of go SGC.
Right, exactly. I love SGC. I love SGC, but nothing in the world is gonna unwind a deal, right?
Right.
It's not gonna. No matter how I feel about it, nothing's gonna unwind a deal. I just, guess what? I'm not gonna send the card I just bought a couple weeks ago. I'm not gonna send that to anybody now. It's just gonna stay raw. I don't care. It doesn't bother me any, right?
And the sad truth too is I could again get 100 hobbyists in a room at the national or at a show or whatever, and I will tell you that if I said, hey, define your utopian hobby, if you could make everything right in your hobby world, what would it look like? There would be probably about 75 different, some people would align, I would guess. But the reality is we're all going to have such unique perspectives on what's important to us in the hobby, because you get to the levels of subsets that we were talking about earlier. And then you go vintage, modern, basketball, football, baseball, blah, blah, blah. You start thinning it out so much and diluting the things that I care about. I don't care if there's competition. If PSA wants to charge $100 to grade a card, well, then I'll just decide not to grade a card.
If the market bears it, the market bears it, right?
Yeah, there's enough people sending in. Let
it's not gasoline.
Market capitalism do its thing, which is a pretty dang good way.
And people don't realize or don't want to know that, no offense to all those people are collectors or whatever, none of them are in it. None of them are in it for altruistic reasons. They're in it to make money. SGC isn't going to fly the banner of being the vintage card grader, because in spite of however much money that collectors or fanatics was going to throw at them, they're running a business there. They're going to listen to that. They're going to listen to that before they listen to somebody who says, but the hobby. No, but they don't care. I mean, and that's not a bad thing. I'm not disparaging them. They don't care. Fanatics doesn't care. Topps doesn't care. Guess what? 1980 Fleer didn't care, or 81 Fleer. Donruss didn't care in 81. Pinnacle didn't care. Upper Deck doesn't care. Like, they're running a business. Sure, they do wonderful things for the hobby at times. Topps, they don't care. They're running a business.
I completely agree with that point, that they don't care, nor should they. Everybody thinks that they should care about us because we buy their product.
Right.
Look, they don't. And they don't have to, because we keep buying it, or we keep submitting cards to whomever it is that the grading company du jour. Think about SGC. I can't remember if it's, I don't know the corporate structure. Obviously, a private company. It was a private company before, owned by one or more individuals that owned SGC, that owned it. They made, and I don't know what the purchase price was, but I guarantee you they made a absolute boatload of money.
Yep.
Congratulations to them. Yep. And to think that they owe us anything, that they owe us even an explanation, quite frankly, we don't deserve. It'd be nice, but they are a business, like you said. They are free. It's a free country. They can sell their, if they got to look, I hear this all the time, and I don't sell cards and I don't do this. John, as passionate as you are, there is a number that someone could drive a dump truck of $100 bills to your house, and you would sell every single card in your basement.
Yeah.
And I would too.
Yeah. You know, yeah, you're right, but that's not what drives me. That's not why I have, that's not why I have 4,000 pro cards from 1990 or CMC minor league cards. Like, that's not, you know, if you want that stuff, come over here. But it's like, I get my enjoyment otherwise. I have a display case over there. I'm going to talk about this eventually when I do another episode. It's completely empty right now, because when I went out of town a while back, I put all my stuff under lock and key, and it's still there. But I don't want to put my Mickey Mantles and my Hank Aaron rookie and all that crap up, because I'm going to put the 1968 Topps Game set in my display case, or I'm going to put the 69 Deckle Edge or the 79 Comics, because maybe I want to look at that. I don't care. I don't care about the big guns.
Go for the Three Stooges set to go in this display.
That's still there. Yeah. Okay. Oh no, they're not there. They're under lock and key too. But I have my Ray Keating Z-Nut cards, because I like to look at them. Nobody there. If you find me another person who collects Ray Keating cards and puts them in a display, then good luck. I will probably give you all my cards. But like, I'm happy with the stuff I'm going to put in there, regardless of what the dollar bills are attached to it. Right. I just doesn't bother me anymore. I'm sick of looking at Mickey Mantle, because Mickey Mantle is expensive. I'm sick of looking at Hank Aaron rookie. I mean, somebody's gonna just lambaste me over that. I'm sick of looking at the Hank Aaron rookie, because the Hank Aaron rookie is a great card. I just want to put something else up there and not worry about what, other people say or think.
Okay. Again, I hate that I'm agreeing with you so much. I think by and large, the people that are in this hobby are, especially the people that are going to watch this show, are in it because we love it.
Right. That was my point of my rant. I just love cards, man.
Yes, of course.
I just love cards. I don't care if,
and
they're all worth the same. They're all worth the same in their materials. Obviously, they're not all worth the same, but they're all worth the same amount of cardboard. So I get different enjoyment, because we look at things different ways. Everybody looks at things different ways.
Yeah, and I think that's what makes this hobby awesome. And I think it's what attracts us to it. I buy cards that nobody else would be dumb enough to pay what I just paid for that card. And it's because I wanted it. I like it. And more than like it, and there's a collector mindset that I think we all share, that just drives us as completionists, as, looking for the unusual, looking for the different, because I think we could all, hopefully, I've recently gotten where I can define what a complete collection is for me. And that might change over time, no question. But I started selling some stuff that didn't fall into that, what a complete collection means to me and what I want it to look like. And to that point, I did something I never thought I'd do. I started selling my own cards. It's one thing to sell cards you get that I've done before, excess stuff that I already have. For example, I've sold you a bunch of cards. The Three Stooges cards I just mentioned, I sold to you because I got them in a Chasing Cardboard episode, and I don't collect Three Stooges. So
Right.
I'd rather find someone that loves Three Stooges. You happen to be that guy. And so, but now I'm selling stuff that I one time considered PC stuff for me.
Yeah.
That's a big
It's a big
time
step. Yeah.
step. And I always, when it wasn't people, I didn't need the money in terms of like paying for bills and stuff like that. Uh, I'm like, okay, if I'm going to really get to that complete collection that I'm talking about, I'm going to, and if I don't want to put a second mortgage on my house, I need to start taking some of the stuff that may not fit in that ultimate vision and moving it on.
So you use the word complete, though. I mean, that's a dangerous word in our hobby, because even if you complete a set of cards, right?
Yeah.
It's that too is essentially a subset of the 70s. If you get the 71 football set, then you can work on the 70s, all the 70s football sets, or 60s or 80s, whatever, and it never quite really ends. It just never like you're complete is indicates finality, and you are someone who every year buys a heritage set, hand collated, and at least a factory set from Topps, if not two, right? So
That's correct.
the word complete, I think, is not quite, even if you're talking about your vintage, you also deal with your Hall of Fame PSA registry. That's never going to be complete, right?
Right. It's always changing. What I
Right.
mean is, but let's say you had one of every card ever made, right? And
That's still my goal, but yeah.
let's say you had that now, that you'd achieved that, of every piece of cardboard that has a picture of somebody on it that you could ever want is in your basement. Then it turns to, well, I want to get a nicer copy. This set's kind of raggedy.
Yep,
I want to
I get it.
upgrade this, and I want to, so I did use a word that's probably not accurate in the word complete.
Right.
Because I'll go, well, I have a 2 in this. I'm going to take that and add some cash and get a 4. Or there's so many, it can be never ending, which is also part of the joy of collecting, the never endingness of upgrading, the never endingness of new Hall of Famers being elected every year, the never endingness of new sets being released every year, all those
Well,
things.
there's also the expansion of what a card is. I know that's been discussed, right? I think on this show or some show,
Yeah,
what
this
a
show.
card is. Yeah.
I think Danny and
So
Mike
when
handled
I
that.
was growing up, and into my adulthood, there was stuff that wasn't defined as collectible or card collection or card collectible items, and you can talk about exhibits in that respect, or you can talk about the B18 blankets, or all the other stuff. It's like we've as more people have come in, we've needed to make more room, and it's changed quite a bit. There's people that have been around a long time that could speak better to, yeah, it was always there, but it was kind of underground. But like we've expanded what we collect hobby wise and what we consider cards that wouldn't be cards, like the B18 blankets, or just a lot of interesting items now that we see. And more are coming, right? Like I said, the exhibit cards have been hugely popular lately, and now it's going to be pocket schedules. In fact, the Babe Ruth non-rookie Baltimore Orioles card was a pocket schedule, right? So it's like we're expanding what we define as collectible items. I know there's money attached to it while we keep expanding, but there's more people in here collecting more of that stuff. So it's great. It's more of it's coming out, and we're discovering more and more of it. So it used to be like Gaudi's and T206s were the big old pre-war cards. Now it's like there's so many cards from the pre-war era that qualify and are highly collected.
For sure. Well, I don't think we solved anything, but I do want you to, I don't want your dinner to get cold now that it's probably at a nice temperature for you to consume.
I'm not eating alone tonight, so I got this little fella here. So
hey, Norman, come here.
Hey, another thing, folks, and Jed agrees with me here. Hey, Norman, Topps is Topps is a subset of Fanatics. Tops isn't running Fanatics. And, we talk about that too. Like Tops is just a part of their business. Their job, their core business is to deliver you, linens and caps and stuff like that. So like we tend to think that Tops is Fanatics. Tops is just part of Fanatics, and that goes along with it's minuscule in comparison to the other revenue generators. So I tend to think that it might even be a loss leader for Fanatics, as a form of keeping up a good business deal with the players and the league, right? It may be some sort of thing they have to do in order to maintain their core business.
They start selling cards in lid stores, and it gets you in there. And you're like, oh, there's a cool hat. I'm going to buy that. Right. Where they have a giant markup and make a huge margin on a hat.
Yeah, because we look at the, the margins are tough to define. I know that because I have this argument with my colleagues, my coworkers all the time. Like, how can you define what the margin is? Truly define what the margin is on when there's so many things that go into our product, right? And it's the same thing there. I'm wondering, obviously a hat, a $40 hat, or whatever they are, $30 to $40 hat is more expensive than a $4 card. But I'm wondering, when it all comes down to it, what's the higher margin? I'm guessing. I know cardboard is nothing, but when you factor in the millions and tens of millions dollars they need to pay the Players Association and the leagues in order just to print those $4 packs of cards, it just makes me wonder, So
good question. That's a different hobby think tank, though.
It is. Somebody that knows how to use Excel can do that.
Well, John, thanks for another fun discussion, and would love to hear comments down below from everybody. What, if anything that we said made any sense at all or resonated with you, let us know. And
hey, real quick before you sign off here. Hey, good luck to everybody this year. Baseball season's starting or has already started. I know I'm going to opening day, I think, on Friday. So good luck to everybody. Have fun. Enjoy the game. The people of Cleveland, enjoy your new, you're getting closer and closer to being a Dave and Buster's by that new big beer garden they built up there in upper right field. So every now and then when you're drinking your Modelo, just take a look over your shoulder at the game that's going on behind you and try to enjoy a little baseball instead of
real quick World Series prediction. What's your World Series prediction for this year?
I'm predicting the I'm predicting the Phillies. Okay. And Phillies and Yankees. I'd love to see that. It's been a while. It's been a minute. It's been about, I don't know, 15 years. So let's see Phillies, Yankees. Yankees have to win eventually, right?
I agree with you on the Phillies. I pick the Phillies to win the National League, and we'll go back and see how wrong we were. It's so tough to repeat. I can't see the Rangers doing it. Mm-hmm. I think the Orioles are too young still, even though they had a very brief experience last year because they got swept by the Rangers. But I don't think the Rangers can repeat as American.
You need a lot of luck. We know, like, to win anything, you need a lot of luck, right? Yeah. And it's interesting, you guys didn't have luck last year, right? Your prime signing went out how many weeks or months into the season? DeGrom?
Six starts.
So I mean, you guys were you were deep enough to able to overcome that. A young team, unfortunately, that had luck on their side, meaning everything went right. Like, you need to overcome that with more depth and stuff like that. So that's in response to the Orioles comment. A little more seasoning.
So who do I want to pick? I hate to do it. I think the Astros are going to win the American League, but
that was my first instinct too. But I was like, oh, we just did that a couple of years ago.
I hate that though. I mean, but I think the Phillies, the Dodgers are going to they're going to be really, really good. So are the Braves, obviously. There are some really stacked teams, and then there's a whole lot of don't have a chance. But as Tommy Lasorda said, well, a third of 100% of the teams will lose a third of their games, or whatever. What's the saying, Tommy Lasorda?
I don't know. He's from Norristown.
The worst teams will win a third of their games. The best teams will lose a third of their games. And so it matters what happens in that middle third.
There you go.
And
Bob's your uncle.
there you go. All right.
Yeah. Let's go.
We'll talk to you guys later. Have a good one. See you next week for another episode of Hobby Think Tank. Take care. Keep collecting.
Keep collecting.